Hello, I'm back, and I'm deciding not to look like a sack of potatoes in my videos anymore. um, yeah, today I'm going to show you what it looks like to authentically connect by sharing with you my story. So, the last video that I made, I attempted to teach and talk about how do you authentically connect with another person so that you could have better relationships, so that you could truly bond with another person. You must show yourself, you must be seen, you must expose yourself, talk about yourself, know yourself, and share share that so that another person could get to know you, truly get to know you. And you would also need to do that with another person. Get to know another person by being curious about them, being interested about them, asking them questions so that they could talk about themselves. So, this is what I would do. This is exactly what I do when I meet new people, when I'm dating. I tell them my life story. um, and so I'm going to tell you my life story. It's going to be long. My life story has a couple of phases. Um, it'll start with like my upbringing, and then there's my unconscious phase, and then there's that segues into my journey into spirituality, and then that whole journey, which leads into me getting with my ex husband and the descent of that marriage. So buckle up. It's gonna be a great long wild ride. So, oh, and the point of this, of me sharing my story, is so that I connect with you guys, so that you get to know who I am as a person, where I came from, why I am the way that I am, so that you could decide if you think I'm a cool person or not. That's the whole point of opening up and trying to connect. You're showing yourself, you're letting yourself be seen so that another person could really get to know who you really are, the way that you kind of see yourself in a way. You have to perceive yourself first, and generally our environment will mirror that. People will mirror that. And it's always going to like come from within first. It needs to come within first. Um, and at the same time, we're not going to be for everybody. Not everyone is going to vibe with us, and that's okay. Our job is to vibe with ourselves, and we let other people have their their preferences, their thoughts, their opinions, and we have to respect that. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. I was a really privileged kid. So I had the luxury and privilege of actually having parents and a family that loved me unconditionally. I always felt safe. I had really great, strong role models in my life, really strong women and very kind, loving men in my life. So I really was protected by this bubble of like safety, security, a very secure nervous system. I was just protected and loved, and I just lived life with this like protective bubble of like I didn't I didn't have the experience where life was like scary or like people were bad. I had like where I had to worry about that. I needed to like brace myself or like try to earn other people's like love and attention and affection. Like I that's my privilege. I recognize that's not normal. That is not what a lot of people experience. So I recognize that as a luxury and a privilege. I was really lucky. Um, but yeah, I was just a happy kid. I grew up very middle class. It's not like I was rich or anything, but my parents just provided for me and my older brother, and I was, I also grew up around other minorities and Asian people. I grew up in Southern California, and my parents are immigrants. And I'm like second generation child of immigrants. I was very, very firmly Asian American. I'm Chinese, Vietnamese, American. I will never pretend to be just Asian, and I know I'm not like a white person, or I'm not like firmly just American, but I do feel very American, very Californian to be exact. And I just had a very like lucky childhood where I felt like I always belonged. I was safe and that I belonged. Nobody made me feel bad about who I was and that I didn't belong. I wasn't really bullied. I was never bullied. The worst that happened to me was some boys said that I had like really hairy arms. And then I decided to shave my arms and I was like, fuck this shit. Whatever. And then I shaved my arms. And it wasn't a big deal after that. So growing up, I was just a happy kid. Grew up really nerdy. My brother was my like he was like my best friend growing up. He taught me everything. He always wanted a little sister, and he taught me everything, all the cool nerdy stuff and everything that he did. I really like attached to. I was like the tag along little sister. He showed me like video games, anime, movies, like all the cool nerdy stuff. I was like, okay, everything that he likes is cool. I gotta do and like all the same things that he does. Yeah, I really looked up to him, and he taught me a lot. Specifically, he taught me to know who I am. Like like don't ever let anyone else tell you who you are. Like this is the lesson that he taught me. Um and I'm just imparting that lesson like throughout my life. It's just always been like no truer lesson, know who you are. And yep. So I was growing up also privileged and cursed at the same time with the identity of being a gifted kid. So that actually didn't help me. It actually disadvantaged me in the long term because I didn't need to work hard in school. I was able to get good grades by doing very little, and I was still considered smart. I was getting good grades, so I felt proud enough of like about myself. Um yeah, the result, the output was like I got the maximum output from like minimum input, right? So what ended up happening was I finished high school and I didn't really have any strong conviction for any like career or anything, but there's no other path other than you go to college, you do higher education, of course. There's like no other option. And so I go to university and I do the major that I disliked the least, and that was art and graphic design, but it was not really like I didn't have a strong vision of becoming a graphic designer. It just felt like something that I would do in school and just kind of see where it goes. But what ended up happening was I ended up being a very relationship oriented person. I sort of grew up feeling like everybody likes me. um, I heard through a friend when I was in college that everyone in the art department had a crush on me. And that did something to my brain. That did something to my self confidence. Like I already thought like I was just coasting by and just like having a good time. Like I never had an issue getting with guys that I liked. Like if there was a guy that I liked, I would usually just like it would just be like a straight path to like coming like we're usually already friends like in the friend group and then I get closer with them and we become closer and then we just end up getting into a relationship. Like if I'm interested in a person, I just end up getting with them. It was just I just get whoever I want to be with. And then my friend tells me, "Oh yeah, everyone has a crush on Amtan," and I was just like, "Really?" And so I end up feeling like everybody wants to be with me. Literally, I was very self assured at that point, um, if not a little bit pretentious at the same time. I had a friend literally nickname me Big Head, and she was my satellite. um, and I was I was doing my best to just be a good person, but I still felt like everybody wants to be with me. Until I learned that was not true. Um, but the thing was, every time I get into a relationship, I always end up breaking up with them because it would always be great in the beginning, and then over time things would go awry. We would have issues that we wouldn't know how to resolve. They would become irreconcilable issues, and I would always just end up breaking up with them. It was this pattern. And when I was trying to finish my last class for um, university, I had to finish portfolio, and I was in a relationship that was kind of toxic at the time. But all of my energy was on the relationship. All my time and focus and energy was like trying to make this relationship work. I'm so like I didn't know at the time, but I become very codependent in a relationship where I need my partner to be good so that I could be good, so that I could feel like the relationship is good because I really like when the relationship feels good, feels harmonious and that we like are are just like really happy together. Like I need that to feel like this is okay. We're doing the right thing. We're on the same page. Like I focused so much on the relationship and I became some pretty much depressed that I was never able to finish that last that last class. I took it multiple times, but that like my disadvantaged like lack of resilience and grit, like the part of me that was never taught, was never conditioned to work really hard to fit to to achieve anything, like it really bit me in the ass. Like it really showed its face in that last portfolio class. I was never able to finish. I took it multiple times and I just like couldn't get myself to finish. It was too hard for me to exert myself in that way. I didn't have like the technical skills to like make work that I wanted, and I didn't have like the heart to to like ask for help or whatever. I didn't know what to do. I ended up dropping out. But what I did end up doing was I used my graphic design skills to forge my own diploma. And to this day, my parents still have my fake diploma on the wall in our house. So I hope my mom never sees this video. Don't tell them if you know my parents. Um, but yeah, I guess that means I'm a graphic designer, right? I used my skills for something. But yeah, I just kind of decided like I'm gonna put that behind me. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just going to get a job. I'm just going to start working and move forward with my life. I thought that, as long as I have a job, making money, then things will be good. I'll be fine. I could support my lifestyle and just like get my parents off my back. That's like the whole college thing was for my parents, right? Like that wasn't really my decision. I didn't really have a say in that. I just had to do it. So I just thought the next thing was getting a job. And I was lucky enough, yet again, that my older cousin, she's was a director of a company. She had like a department that she was the director of, and she just needed contractors. And she gave me a job. I was like, okay, cool, thank you. And I just took it, and I just like trained on the job. I did like support. I did QA and then support, system support, technical support for the office. And I gained all these like skills and experience on the job. And I was really lucky. Um, yeah, everyone was awesome and nice. I learned a lot. And it was like the perfect environment for me as a person that doesn't work that hard, doesn't like working that hard. It was very easy. But over time, it became very soul draining. And I wasn't making like an amazing amount of money. So I was starting to feel like I was not very happy there. So I felt like I could do more, that there's more for me, that I at least wanted more money. So my next goal, like the next thing that I set my intentions on was, okay, if I at least make more money, then I'll be happy. Let me just start looking for other opportunities. And as soon as I made that decision, I was recruited. Like a headhunter messaged, sent me like a email in LinkedIn, and it was for a support manager position at a startup company, as a tech startup company. And on paper, it looked amazing. I just saw that they paid a lot more, and it just seemed like an amazing opportunity for me to learn on the job. And I had no idea what it was going to entail. And unsurprisingly, I nailed the interview. They gave me the job, and I was wildly unqualified. Like I should have known that, like going from like doing the same thing, like literally the same thing in the same position for like years. I've never managed anybody before, had no ambition, but I was able to sound like I had ambition, but I had no skills. I had no skills in like managing people, and I didn't know what working hard was like, and I didn't realize that being at a startup company would be like requiring you to work like multiple people's jobs. I was barely able to do one person's job well, just like the normal ass customer support stuff that I needed to manage. Like I was barely able to do that there. So it was not a good fit, but again, luckily for me, my coworkers, my bosses, and everybody, they were all able to see how hard I was working. It was just clearly not a good fit. So I was able to get unemployment. So I was constructively discharged. Another nice way of saying I was fired, but it was like due to like a mismatch. So yeah, I was able to receive unemployment for and then not work, and that was literally the blessing in disguise I was like really waiting for. I was actually hoping that would happen when I was like at my first employer, because I really felt like I needed to figure out what the hell I wanted to do with my life. Like, what the fuck do I actually want? Because as it turns out, when I was looking back on my life, like all these things I was doing, all these choices I was making, all the like paths that I ended up going down, they were never truly my decision. And every time something like landed in my lap, it was never really the thing that made me happy. So I started thinking about, what do I really want with my life? What do I really want to do? And then that's when I discovered life coaching. And at the time, I thought it was this beautiful, aspirational, noble beacon, this entrepreneurial dream, as I now see it, which is the flip side of the American dream, where you get to make your own hours, you work for yourself, you have an unlimited earning potential, and it just sounded like amazing. Like, who wouldn't want that? That sounds like a dream, like to make as much money and like work on your own terms, on your own hours, and like not have to work for anybody else. That sounds great on paper. Like, sign me up for that. How do I like so I sort of saw life coaching as like this like dream. Like, it sounds good. So why not like go for that? And specifically life coaching, because in that process of reflecting on myself and learning, like, wait a minute, like I did all of these things, and I was like living life, choosing these paths and living my life not for myself. But when I looked at it and realized when I wasn't living my life for myself, I wasn't happy. And now that I'm like seeing things more clearly, I'm trying to decide for myself. That made me feel like I really figured something out. Like, it was like a light switch, light bulb, like enlightenment moment for myself. I thought I really like woke up to my own life. And that was something that I really wanted to impart on other people. Like, if only somebody told me back, when I finished high school, that like, hey, you don't maybe you should like really think about what you want to do and not just do the things that everyone else is telling you to do. Maybe. Maybe my life would have been different. And I wanted to be that support and guidance for people, because who knows how my life would have been different. Maybe I would have still done the same thing, but it's it was a big realization for me to realize, like, doing stuff because that's what everyone else is doing, that's what everyone else is telling you to do, that's what's expected of you. It's probably not going to make you actually happy, and you need to be responsible for your own happiness, for your own life. And that's why I attached to this idea of being a life coach. I really wanted to share those ideas with people. And that kind of led me into this path of thinking that if I could be a life coach, I'll be happy. And turns out being a life coach and an entrepreneur are like, they're connected. Like, I can't be a life coach and live that entrepreneurial life without a whole lot of business skills that I didn't have, and a lot of nervous system capacity that I didn't have. And so I struggled for a long time with this idea of like really wanting to help people and be this life coach person, and like really struggling and feeling really like scared. Scared of doing it wrong, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to do it, not knowing like how to really share these ideas and show up. It just felt so foreign. And eventually I ended up just getting another job, like a office job, because I was doing the thing where I was like taking courses and getting certifications and learning like coaching techniques and learning NLP and hypnosis, and I was doing all these things thinking that okay, I'm learning how to do these things. Now I should be able to do it, right? Like then I'll feel more confident in myself, and then I'll be able to be a coach and get clients. Like the getting clients part was really like I was almost afraid to get clients. Like the idea of selling coaching was really like uncomfortable. So I did the safe thing of getting an office job again, something very predictable, something easy for me to do, and tried to do life coaching on the side. And all the while I'm I'm being me and I'm dating and I'm experiencing life. They say that you really only like have a couple areas of your life, and a lot of people will focus on like a specific area of of their life and like go really hard and put their energy and like time into that area. Most people do career and money, making money. For me, it was relationships. So I had this aspirational idea of like wanting to be a life coach, but it was very hard and uncomfortable because again my grit and resilience just like was not there. Like every time I like am faced with like a challenge, like I don't want to engage with it. I like resist it. And I really put my energy into relationships. I grew the most through my relationships, and I was really good at interpersonal relationships. I felt like we always do the things that we feel that we're good at, right? So because I had this like track record of like always getting the guy that I wanted, I and my pattern of getting into relationships and breaking up with them, like the last relationship during that phase of my unconscious phase, I became single for a pretty long stretch. But like right when I broke up with that last serious boyfriend, by the way, every boyfriend I get with, I think that I'm gonna marry them. Like I always like date really like seriously at that time. Um, but it always like baffles me and breaks my heart when it just feels like, oh, they're suddenly not the right person. Like I wasn't able to figure out like it's not the people, it's our skills in resolving our issues and growing together. I didn't know that. I always thought like their things are good in the beginning and somehow over time they reveal themselves to me that they just aren't the right person for me. For some reason that was always the case. I didn't see that I was always the common denominator. I played a role in every relationship that ended. And so back to that phase. I broke up with that last serious relationship. I had a long stretch of being single, and I thought that after breaking up with that boyfriend at the time, I was really ready to like be single and like live out my single person life. Because before that, I was just like pretty much back to back relationships, just like getting into serious relationships. I just loved being in relationships a lot. And after that serious relationship, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just be single. I'm just gonna have my fun. I'm just gonna have my cake and eat it too. I because at that time I felt like I really was like I was like I could just get whatever I want. I was like the hottest shit. I just felt like I could have my cake and eat it too. And during that phase, for that whole year after I broke up with that ex, the universe really put me in my place. Really, bitch slapped me across my face and like taught me the lesson that no, Amanda, not everyone wants to get with you. Not everyone wants to bone you. Not everyone even wants to be your friend. I literally had very clear experiences like with guys that rejected me in very like in my face ways for me to learn like, oh, okay, so I'm not everybody wants to be with me. And I learned really fast. I learned those lessons quickly because I've always been dedicated to my own personal development. I've always been dedicated to my own peace and happiness. If if letting go of like an old identity is what it's going to take for me to like accept the reality of things, like, oh, okay, that wasn't true. I learned that something wasn't true, so I'm going to accept that. Even if that is a blow to my ego. I think it was I accepted it wholeheartedly because it just made things funnier. I, and I enjoy the humor of a well-rounded life. There's never just like it can never just be good. It has to be good and bad. And finding humor in the good and bad is really how we survive any of this because a lot of bad could happen. Take for example the state of the world. It's really fucked up. And if we don't somehow find some humor in it, we'll go crazy. So we have to learn how to laugh at ourselves and find some humor in the chaos and the madness. And yep, I learned all those hard lessons. And what I learned about myself in that process was I really liked feeling powerful. this this quality of mine of like enjoying this feeling of like everybody wants to get with me, everybody likes me, everybody w- wants me. And during that phase when I was just trying to have my fun with people and they were telling me, "No, I don't want to get with you." Like it made me like confront I was confronted with this feeling of like, okay, this is making me disappointed. But when I looked at it closer and asked myself, why am I disappointed? I realized it wasn't that I wanted to be with these people. It wasn't that I wanted like a romantic relationship with these people. These were generally like my friends. I wanted to feel desired by them because I wanted to feel powerful. And when I didn't feel that, it made me disappointed. It was a power thing for me. There's a quote that I really resonated with that I learned recently, and it goes, everything is about sex, except for sex. Sex is about power. And that really struck a chord with me. I never really thought about it. I just knew that I I like what I like, and I like having fun and getting close to people. And um, I just thought that it was fun. So I was kind of a cartoon villain back then. I really was something of a soul collector. I I really took on that identity, an alter ego. I heard one of my friends use that term, soul eater, once upon a time. And when I heard that, I just thought, that's pretty cool. And I kind of wanted to be that. And then I kind of became that. But I wasn't trying to hurt people. I was doing it as ethically as possible. I would just get close to people and just want to feel like they like me and I like them too. It's just I just didn't want a romantic relationship. um but I stopped engaging with all those people who essentially rejected me, and I ended up having one last encounter with a guy that didn't reject me. And I kind of he was kind of my victim at that time. And I learned a lot from that guy because he essentially taught me what it was like to be with someone like me in a relationship. So before I had this whole phase of getting with trying to get with guys and have my fun with them. I was with my boyfriend at the time, and I was the one that was pretty much I was kind of insecure with him. He was not a doting type of boyfriend. Um he didn't communicate himself the way that I communicate. So it was really hard to understand and feel like the sense of security when he didn't talk as much as I did. So I really wanted to feel like he really liked me because I really adored him. But it was hard to like get the type of interaction that I wanted out of him, and I didn't really understand him that well at the time. And I would always get somewhat like bothered and hurt in my insecurity because I didn't quite understand his his communication, how he was, what he was doing, and what he like didn't that he never meant to like make me feel bad. It was actually just my insecurity like making me feel bad in those moments. And then I was with a guy who did that to me. I was just being myself, um, and I kept on making him feel bad. I kept on rubbing up against his insecurities, and he got really upset at me. And I was just like scratching my head, like, "Oh shit, is this what it was like to be with me?" But he was really shitty about it. He was like telling me to fuck off and stuff in like a kind of a funny tongue in cheek kind of way, but he was touchy. He was a little touchy little guy. And but I still really liked him. We had this like really great chemistry. But the fact that he was so insecure and I didn't really understand how to hold space for this guy and his feelings, like I just thought that if he understood me, we'd be good. But that's not how you fix those problems. When somebody feels bad about something that you did, you can't just explain your way to get to them. But yeah, in being involved with this guy, it really helped me see like myself and see my own habits, like my past habits and behaviors. And it also helped me fortify the type of person that I wanted to be, the heart that I had, because I was able to see and understand where this guy was coming from. Those behaviors that he was doing, I did. And there was nothing wrong with like having insecurities. There's just a fundamental misunderstanding of like the whole situation. That's why you're feeling bad about something. You don't really understand, like you're feeling bad with another person. You don't really understand their intentions, like what they're like, why they did or why they said what they said, and you're just feeling bad about it. I was able to see that in him. So I didn't blame him or fault him. I just knew that I couldn't continue engaging with him if he was going to be like kind of toxic and abusive with me, because he was like really pushing me away when those things would happen. And I was just really able to recognize that this guy is coming from a place of hurt. Like I hurt him. Like he really liked me. I was able to see that. And I felt like I grew a lot from dealing with him. And eventually I had to stop. I had to remove myself from him because he was being too much of a big baby. And so that was pretty much the end of that year of reckoning, like dealing with all these guys and learning that I'm not, that I'm very much not the hottest person in the world and not everybody wants to get with me. And I should probably stop being so boy crazy. So the next year after that, I took a year off from dating. I just focused on myself and my hobbies and just didn't date. Did my best not to date, but I still did have my fun. And yeah, I was just trying to learn and grow as a person by taking a year off. And by the end of that year, I welcomed dating once again. I did start dating once again. And since it was feeling so long since I've been in a serious committed relationship, at the beginning of seeing a new guy, this this new guy, as soon as he like started giving me all this attention, I I was feeling better about myself again. But I did have the wherewithal to not immediately get into the relationship with that guy. But what ended up happening was uh, I I told him I didn't want to be his girlfriend. He asked me to be his girlfriend within a few weeks or so of dating, and I told him I'm good. I didn't really see him that way, and but I was happy to still like casually see him just for fun. But what ended up happening was I he did he didn't drink at the time, and I took him drinking. I wanted to drink and party with him, so I took him drinking, and I got him to drink, and then I essentially took advantage of him, and we accidentally get pregnant. Like, did not expect that. Like, completely did not expect that, but it ended up happening, and he was very present throughout that whole process of obviously I didn't keep the baby. I had to get an abortion, and he was very present for that whole process. He was always there, provided a lot of emotional support, um, and care for me, and while I was going through that, I was very hormonal, and I was able to, and I was observing just how much he truly loved me. He was like always there. And I was attracted to that quality, to the quality of him loving me a lot. I wasn't really in love with him as a person, though. I just thought I loved him as a person. But what I really was attracted to was the feeling that he was giving me. He made me feel really, really loved and cared for and supported and adored. And I recognized that, and I that made me want to be with him because of that, not because of him as a person. So that relationship ended up being the most toxic relationship that I had, and I fully recognize I was uh, the cause of most of the problems in that relationship. I was essentially rubbing against all of his insecurities and had no capability of holding space. I was really at this point in my spirituality. I got into spirituality once I discovered life coaching, like into like manifestation and law of attraction, and I was really high on my shit. I thought I was like the most enlightened person in the world, and I was so emotionally mature and everything, and I would tell him to his face that I was more emotionally mature than him. I thought I was superior to him in most ways, and I would say that to him, and I just thought that's just how it is. Like I did the thing where I just wanted to elevate him and wanted to lift him up and wanted the best, his best, highest self type of shit. But I didn't really accept him for who he was, where he was presently. I didn't know that I never made him feel like that. I always made him feel like he wasn't good enough. And in my mind, I felt like I loved him so much. Like I truly just wanted him to be happy and for us to be happy together in that relationship. So I always did like the relationship thing where I'm just like pouring into him, into the relationship. And like, I thought I really loved him, but I would make these comments and like be a certain way around him that would end up just hurting him, making him feel insecure. He was pretty insecure in general, but I made things worse. And whenever he felt upset, I didn't know how to hold space. I insisted that he understood me because I always thought I could always see and rationalize that my intentions were always pure. I never meant to hurt him. Of course, I never meant to hurt him because I love him. But I didn't know that just because I didn't intend to hurt him doesn't mean that the harm wasn't done. I didn't I didn't know well, what that was. I thought as long as we understand each other, we do our best to try to understand each other, then we have nothing to be upset at each other for. I just felt like he never understood me when I never really took the time to understand him. So that's why in hindsight, I'm able to see I was the toxic one. Completely gaslighting him in so many different, so many different times. And I was, of course, ended up being the one to break up with him because I always felt like he just didn't understand me. He didn't accept understand me as a person. And overall, we were just completely incompatible to begin with. But from that relationship, I was truly able to take home the lesson that I can't do everything to try to make a relationship, to try another make another person happy and think that that's going to make me happy. Like working so hard to try to make another person happy and trying to fix a relationship, thinking that's going to be the thing that makes me happy is never going to be the case. Like I learned that lesson hard and I went really hard into being single afterwards. Like um I recognize my pattern as like I just get into relationships like and I go so hard in my relationships. And I went really hard into that one when that was like it never should have happened. I never should have gotten with him to begin with. But when I got out of it, I was just so fucking happy to be single again, to really just like live for myself, to go from making another person happy to no, fuck that. I got to make myself happy. I'm just going to do all the shit that makes me happy. And I did. I became really fucking single. That's when I got into um I became the most promiscuous at that time. I started going to like sex parties and stuff. And I was just that was also at the beginning of COVID-19. So we were quarantined. I was able to work from home. Everything was closed, right? So we weren't able to go out anymore. So I was actually super happy to find to just be able to focus on myself. And literally there's like nothing going on. There's no social engagements, no one invited me to do anything. I had no social obligations. I didn't have to feel bad about saying wanting to say no to things and keeping to myself or like I there was nothing going on, so there was no FOMO to be had. I was so happy to just be healthy, cook my groceries at home, make meals at home, exercise at home, and I was like live streaming. I live streamed before. I kind of took a break and I was like going on and off of it and I just felt like I really was living my best life at that time. I was so happy being single and like being myself. It felt like I came to the conclusion that I don't ever want to be in the wrong relationship. I would rather be single forever than be with the wrong person. And so I was really living my best life, but I still had the idea in the back of my mind that having a forever person would is still like a goal of mine. I still wanted that beautiful, perfect relationship. Like I think we just all kind of want that. We're all conditioned to want that. Um, and as soon as I started dating again, it didn't take me long. I literally had like a 6 month like single period. I thought that I could just find like a best friend partner in crime and just like then then my life would be set. But what ended up happening was I found it didn't take me long. I started dating and I met a guy that I just felt like this is it. I found my person. I found the one. Like it just felt like I've never been loved exactly the way that I want to be loved. Like this person like actually understands me. And the thing is, up until I met him, like during that like single phase, living my best life phase, I did so much healing work, like inner work to really embrace who I was, to really fully go into like the life that I truly wanted, the life and the lifestyle that I truly wanted that made me really really happy at that time. Like I had to just accept everything about who I was and where I came from and what made me happy and what I wanted for my life. And I just felt like I had a really strong sense of self. And so when I started dating and I met my now ex, I felt so like I knew exactly how to love myself. I loved myself so much that when I finally was with another person that was able to meet me where I was, like everything that he was doing felt very clearly that he loved me the way that I loved myself. I was just like, I'm done. Like, I just wanted that. I just attached to that feeling. It just felt so good being with him and choosing him because everything he was giving me was like exactly the way that I wanted to feel. I just attached to that so strongly. And that was during COVID. So we were actually pretty much like quarantined together. There's no socializing, no outside activities. We were literally just at home, hanging out and talking a lot. We just got groceries. I cooked at home and we are just talking a lot of focused attention. And that was perfect for me. I was just so freaking happy with that type of relationship. Like, I just love that, like, intense, like, intimacy, like, bonding, connecting, like, time with each other, like, quality time with each other. And I I did all like the red flag things. I just like rushed into it so hard because I just felt like I knew exactly what I wanted and that was it. And so I was just like, yes, give that to me. I want that right now. Give me more of that. And I mean like I like held his hand really fast. Like, that's not really a red flag thing, but that was like fast for him. And I told him I loved him really fast. I got him to meet my parents really fast within like a week or so, a couple of weeks or so. Like, I literally conned him into being my boyfriend. I literally told him that I'm going to like have a family gathering. Like, you should come. Like, I'm just gonna tell them you're my boyfriend. And don't worry, if it doesn't work out, we could just go back to being friends. And the reason I did that was because I knew they were gonna love him. He's Vietnamese American like me, and but his Vietnamese is like fluent. He's way better at Vietnamese than I am. I knew my parents were just gonna love him because he's really good with people. He's good with parents. He could speak Vietnamese to them, and he loves talking to people. He's like not shy around parents and older generation people. He's able to connect with everybody. And of course they did love him. And I just felt so proud. I felt really proud of like the person that I brought home because I just like saw him as this like amazing person, this perfect person that fits perfectly into my life. He made me feel so good, and my family even loved him. I just like saw him as this like beautiful addition to my life that felt so right, and I attached to that so hard. Like, it didn't take long for us to make the decision that like we both wanted to get married. Like, I told him I wanted to marry him like within a month or so or whatever. And what ended up happening was we were quarantining together, and he is this nomadic, like, travel adventurous type of guy. He loves traveling. It's quarantine, lockdown, not able to travel in a long time. He was really ready to see the world again. He came up with this idea of saying, how cool would it be if we just quit our jobs and didn't have, like, just worked on our own thing and maybe saw the world at the same time? And I was just like, yeah, that would be freaking amazing. Like, I've always wanted this idea of like focused attention on like my own goals, focus attention on like just what I want to do. Like, I've always kind of wanted to do that because in my mind I thought that's what I need. I just need to focus on the thing, then I could do it, right? Like, my entrepreneurial pipe dream of being a life coach. And he took that answer and like kind of ran with it. He said, "Cool." And then he was like, well, it first started off as like maybe two countries, like just Japan and Vietnam. He like started like looking at all the numbers and stuff, and he started to see that it would be doable to like travel to many other places. And so started off as two countries, turned into like 14, 15 countries. And he was so freaking excited about the whole expedition. He was just like a kid in a candy shop, just like researching flights and booking flights and researching Airbnbs and booking Airbnbs. He was so passionate, like watching YouTube videos with me and like travel things. He had this dream of like being like YouTube travel couple, making travel content. Like he was so starry eyed about it that I didn't have the heart to tell him that I this is this is a little bit much for me. I tried to tell him, and he would just try to reassure me that I would be able to do what I wanted to do. Like I didn't really have like a strong enough voice in saying I don't actually want to do this. Like part of me did want to do it, but part of me was really anxious and nervous about it. But I never really truly got to express that. I just went along with it. And so that was the beginning of pretty much the end, because from that decision of agreeing to this crazy long expedition, like my life changed and everything in our relationship changed. I changed, and it became a growing list of things that I ended up agreeing to that I should have said probably not to. But at the time I didn't know what I didn't know. I just thought that everything sounded perfectly, like sounded fun. As long as I was with him, my person, like my favorite person in the world, my best friend, like I just thought that that's all I need. That we could figure out anything together. I would be happy as long as I'm with him. That's I was so just like hopelessly romantically into this thing that we had. I had so much confidence in us that I had no concept. Like I was not mentally prepared for how everything in my life would change and how everything in our relationship would change and how everything would feel different and how much I didn't want it to feel different. Like I didn't know that everything was going to be challenged in a way that was going to make me feel insecure, because what I attached to was the feeling of how things were so good and so perfect at the beginning that when we started traveling, everything didn't feel like that anymore. I was suddenly not the center of his universe. He was also interested in the environment, in the travel, in the activities, in creating content. And that was it. I didn't know that it was making me feel insecure. I was just experiencing this dynamic as things have changed and I was feeling uncomfortable. And it seemed like just there's just so many new elements thrown into the mix of our life together that I was just completely discombobulated during a lot of our time traveling. And we went to almost like 14 different countries within 4 months. So it was really intense. It was like back to back traveling. We made our way from California over like to Central America, Mexico, to like Central to South America, Costa Rica, Brazil, Argentina, and then we made our way up to Europe. We were in UK, we are in France, Spain, Italy, uh, Greece, Croatia. We also ended up going to like a day trip to Bosnia, Herzegovina, touched down into Morocco for a little bit to say we went to Africa, to say we made every continent. We went to Denmark, and then we made our way to Asia, went to Thailand, and then finally made it to Vietnam. We took 4 months in Vietnam to cool off from all of that intense back to back travel. And I just didn't want to see the airport again or pack my bag for a long time. So I just really wanted to stay home. But we needed to make money again, so he took on English tutoring um, students. And what ended up happening was he was able to get students really, really quickly, really easily. And it just kind of presented itself to him as a really great business opportunity. And it just didn't really make sense for him to just go back to California after all of this and try to resume status quo and go back to being a high school teacher. He was a high school teacher before, and I would just go back to getting an office job and business as usual. Like that didn't interest him at all. He has all this, he loves the like the energy and like the whole content creation entrepreneurial spirit, like the possibility in Vietnam. And he actually has more friends and connections and feels more connected to the place in Vietnam than California, the place that he was born and raised in. And I just saw very clearly that the choice for him was to clearly stay in Vietnam. I didn't even think about what I wanted or needed. I just saw that, oh, yeah, well, we shouldn't go back. Like he shouldn't go back. So I was dedicated being with him. That was my choice too. I was gonna stay with him. I was his wife, and because I didn't think about myself again, I I was just on this ride of just like being taken, like agreeing to all these things, living this life where I'm just like having to figure out what to do with myself. And like I'm once again finding myself with like things just like falling into my lap and realizing after the fact this is not making me happy. And it became like heavier and heavier on my soul, like on my mind, the fact that I just wasn't really able to be fully honest with him anymore. I was not making any like major decisions for myself anymore. I was just not who I used to be. I was quickly having many existential crises in that phase where I suddenly found myself moved to Vietnam. I when I fully intended to go back to California and resume business as usual. I just thought I would do this travel thing, see the world, and then just go back to California. But that didn't really happen. We only went back to California to say goodbye to everybody and put our stuff into storage and throw away most of our stuff. And that was extremely painful for me. Like, it wasn't my choice. Like, I had to physically get rid of things that I wasn't really ready to get rid of. And I was faced with a lot of difficult emotions, but still the biggest thing in my mind that I was committed to was still I loved Chris and I wanted that's his name. I loved him and I wanted to see things through with him. I wanted to do this thing with him and be with him. But it started to feel like it's either I stay with Chris and I'm not really able to be myself, or I break up with Chris and choose myself again. I didn't know how to merge the two. I didn't know how to be myself with him because one of the most major points of contention in our marriage actually came up at the very beginning of us dating, actually. So, when we first started dating, I knew I wanted to be in an open relationship. I knew I was polyamorous, kind of since that single phase right before getting with him. I decided no more monogamy. Like, mm, I don't want to do that anymore. I knew I wanted to be in an open relationship. I just wanted to be free. I was very, very happy, very, very capable of just like connecting with people. And that makes me really happy. I don't want to feel restricted. I hate feeling restricted. It's not that I need to be with multiple people, it's that I don't like saying that, okay, I'm with one person, therefore I could not engage and like intimately connect with another person. Like, why would I stop myself from that? I don't like that. So it's very easy for me to feel connected and share like love with people. Like I love loving. That's the type of person that I am. And Chris took a lot of time, put in a lot of energy into learning what polyamory was when we first started dating. He didn't really he'd never met anybody else who was polyamorous ever, and I was giving him like all these outs. Like he previously was actually the type of person that would have like been really happy to have all the freedom to engage with multiple people and like didn't really want to be tied down, but most conventional women like to tie it down. Like that sense of security. Oh, I have you and that's all we need, each other. Like and you are mine. Like that's not how I love. I like being free. My love language is letting me be free. If you could love me and let me be free, I will love you like to the end of the world. Like that's what I want. And I want you to be free. Like that's how I love. I don't want to control anybody, manipulate, like restrict anybody. Like true love like allows you to be your fullest self. And he learned about polyamory, read books on it. Like I never even read any books on it. And he came to the conclusion that he understands it, he gets it, he respects it, he respected me, but that just wasn't the type of relationship that he envisioned for himself, that he wanted for himself. And so he was ready to walk and let me be like who I was. But what ended up happening was obviously I stayed with him. I attached so strongly to the feeling that I had with him. I felt so happy with him and I just saw him as this perfect person in my life and I felt so satisfied with our relationship. I thought that he fulfilled every need for me. And so I was okay with like, okay, I don't need to be polyamorous then. I was gonna do the monogamy thing with him. And it was great, mostly. I was 98% completely satisfied, extremely just a million percent into him, into the relationship, felt very just all about it. I didn't really think twice about it until I needed to start thinking twice about it because that 2% of myself that I needed to hide, needed to just like not be anymore. That 2% that's like polyamorous, but didn't get to be expressed or given any space, or it didn't go away, and I just the more that the relationship started to feel not right, the more that 2% grew. So it was bound to fail. It was never, we got together on very unhealthy grounds. I put too much onto the relationship. I went into it with the wrong mindset. I went into it thinking that he was my happiness, that this relationship was my happiness, that as long as this relationship is good, then I'll be good. And so I poured all of my time and energy and love and just everything. I just felt like I was able to put like the culmination of all of my life skills into this relationship to make it as like beautiful and strong and healthy as it could be. And I felt so nourished and just like at home in it. Like I I really, really thought it was perfect and that I met this perfect person. Not that I thought that he was perfect as like not that he had no flaws, but like I thought he was the perfect person for me. I thought I had all the right like mindset, cognitive ideas, ideology about this. Like I tried so fucking hard to just make it good. But that was my first marriage. I've never been married before. I didn't really I thought it was just going to be like another relationship, and it was really good when it was the type of relationship just living in California, when we just lived a very conventional, stable, predictable life in California, when we had day jobs and we just had very normal life. But yeah, we got married and then we became full-time travelers. We were with each other 24/7, and we stopped working, and I was kind of just like taken away from like the whole environment, like a place where I felt like I knew exactly who I was, until I was not in that place anymore and I stopped being that. I didn't know what was happening for myself. I didn't realize that my sense of self was very much connected to the location around everything in that environment, even the country, the city that I was in, like the fact that I spoke English in a country that spoke English made me feel like a lot more at home. And I chose to stay with Chris in Vietnam because I just had so much confidence in us still and in myself still, because I thought that, hey, I was able to be really happy by myself back then. Why why wouldn't I be able to do it in Vietnam? Like I had all the confidence in the world. Plus I was with my husband, my best friend. Like we'll figure it out. I That's just what you do. I was very confident, but I underestimated how difficult it was going to be and how everything that made my life feel good and comfortable and happy was a lot of the stuff that I like built my life on. That was like 30 plus years of my life back in California. Like starting over in Vietnam, I didn't have realized I would be literally feeling like I'm starting over and that I actually had to let go of everything that I built and created for myself back home in California. Like there was so much like resistance and pain and like conflict. Like I was just so disappointed in myself when I finally realized that every area of my life was no longer what it used to be and that it was actually all worse. Every area of my life was all worse. I was very, very depressed to realize that. It was really painful to realize that. And I was still trying to make things work with with my husband at the time. I tried to forgive myself. I tried to continue to work on little by little like the things that I told myself that I wanted to do, like pursue life coaching. Like all I needed to do was like make more money and find my independence, right? Like I still had like all all this love and support from my husband. Like why couldn't I just be happy? Like I was so conflicted with this feeling of I can't be myself in this marriage and this is not this was not my original choice. Like I didn't ask to be here, but I still felt guilty. I still felt guilty about like how good my life was. Objectively, it was really good. Like my husband at the time gave me everything that I needed. Why couldn't I just be happy? Like he loved me and he was working really hard for our future. Like why couldn't I just be happy? It was mental torment, emotional torment. Everything that happened like during traveling and just the way that I was still holding on to the feeling of how good it used to feel and how we used to interact with each other and how it's no longer that anymore. I wasn't ever able to recover from that, to let that go, to not want it to feel like that again. And that was the downfall of our relationship. Like I was never able to bounce back and just show up fully present to my life and to being present with him ever again. Like I was living in the past and I held him to a standard that he, that he was no longer being. Like we don't stay the same. There's no way we could hold people to a standard and expect them to stay the same way forever. Like we are always changing. And he also did the same to me. He also thought that I was a certain way. He saw me in a certain light in the beginning of the relationship. And then when we started traveling, I also was no longer that. And everything changed. He still was very dedicated to the relationship, but for me, I ended up feeling really hurt in the relationship because it no longer felt as strong as it did in the beginning. And I thought that it was supposed to feel like that good forever. If the relationship doesn't feel that good, then that made me sad and disappointed. I had this idea that I don't want to be in a mediocre relationship. Like I don't I don't do mediocre relationships. If you're not really into me in this relationship, then we should not be doing this. Another toxic like idea. Like things change. Like doesn't mean that it's no longer a good relationship, right? But I couldn't see him like that he still loved me and that he still wanted this thing. I just saw that there was a version of the relationship that I really, really liked and attached to and wanted it to stay that way. And then when it stopped being that, I'm out. That's my pattern. And I I did it again. I didn't know. I never see it when it's happening. And I don't realize it when it's happening, but I fell into that pattern of becoming completely codependent, making my life and happiness the relationship, going really hard into the relationship, losing myself, feeling all bad and unhappy and misunderstood in the relationship to the point where I needed to just exit. I just needed to end it. I just needed to break up. And it was mostly me hurting myself in that relationship, in that marriage. And yeah, I had to learn once again. I I need to be true to myself. Like in a relationship, once you stop being honest with the person that you're calling your partner, you don't have like that trust anymore. Once you stop being able to be your whole self, you start losing yourself. And if you can't be your whole self, there's no way you could be happy. It's not the relationship that's going to make you happy. Stop trying to make the relationship work if you aren't making yourself happy. Like the relationship is never going to be the thing that fully makes you happy. But I just love that feeling so much. I just get so attached to that feeling. And yep, that's my lesson that I periodically have been learning with every relationship, every serious relationship that I enter. But yeah, we ended up getting a divorce. I told him that I can't do this anymore. I was miserable. I was very depressed last year. I never cried more in my entire life than I did last year. I would cry myself to sleep in bed as he's like sleeping next to me. I'd be crying, trying to like before falling asleep because I'm thinking to myself how bad I feel that I can't be myself and that I know that being in this relationship was hurting me. I was hurting myself. I felt like I knew I needed to break up with him. For many nights I would just like play the thought, play like mentally rehearse breaking up with him night after night, but never being able to really do it myself. The next morning I would always just get up and go through the motions again. It was actually him who brought up like the point where he finally was able to speak to the fact that he saw and thought that like he said, Amanda, I don't think you'll ever be happy here in Vietnam. Like no matter how hard he tries to make things right in the relationship, no matter how hard he works in the relationship for the relationship, like I didn't look like I was happy because I wasn't. I was very depressed that like that last year and I was just constantly in conflict with myself for a lot of our whole like post California life. Like everything after we started traveling, everything after we left California, started traveling, everything started changing. And I was just constantly having internal conflicts about how I felt about everything and how I just couldn't get myself to really be honest with him as a person, as his friend, as his partner. Like I just thought I'm his wife now. Like we just do everything together and we should just be happy with each other. Like I didn't know how to really speak up for how I was really feeling and like wanting to truly like be seen. Like I didn't know that was necessary for me for it to work. I just thought, okay, now we're married. It's even more serious than a relationship. We're married. I didn't know that you should always try to just be honest no matter what. Um but yep, that brings me pretty much to now. I am still in Vietnam, and the thing is, everybody asks me like, what do you so why don't you just go back to California? When are you going back to California? Are you going back to California? And my answer to that is not quite yet, and I'm not sure when I will, if I will ever move back to California, because living in California is very expensive. And I know it's such a privileged position for me to even like be able to be here now. Like I really feel like I dodged a bullet with how things are in the United States, and that I happened to leave the United States, and now I'm like very well situated in Vietnam, and I don't have to deal with like craziness and how expensive everything is in California. Like I'm very, very, very lucky that I'm here, and I just really want to make the most of it here. And now that I am on my own, it really is my personal choice. Like I'm making this choice for myself. I'm just living on my own terms now, and so my choice is to just kind of be here for the time being and work on myself, work on my independence, and do this shit and just become full force Amanda again, like that very free bird, promiscuous. I just living my best whole life out here. And yeah, life has been so much better since the divorce, since breaking up and being on my own again, just like finding myself and working on myself. That's not to say things haven't been like really challenging and difficult and hard, but compared to last year, things are amazing. But and even in general, like my life is a fucking anime. Like my life is crazy. Like I can't make this shit up. I there's so many details that I haven't told you, but I live a stranger than fiction life, and it's I'm just super lucky, and I'm just super grateful for what I have right now. And yeah, that's basically where I am. That's my life story. That was really long. And I share all of that not to not to dump any of that out to like whatever make myself look bad or look a certain way or ask for sympathy or have anybody judge have some type of perception of me. Like I don't think about that. The only point of this, of me telling you my story and telling you everything that I've pretty much been through and where I've come from, is just because I one, I like talking about myself. Two, I welcome people seeing me. I feel like this is the only way for people to really like, or this is like the best way, fastest way for you to get a big picture, a really clear, big picture of who I am. And this is what it's all about: connecting, connection. You must see me to decide for yourself whether you like me or not. You must have a perception of this person that I am. And I gave you a lot of information for you to go off of. And that is the technique that I'm driving home in the like how to authentically connect. Like I sh- told you a story. I didn't just say I'm this, 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 and this. I didn't give you like a laundry list of like qualities that I think that I am, because it's very rare that you could say what you are and actually be that and be compelling in any way. I don't really believe it when people tell me what they are. Like, let me be the judge of that, right? So I'm telling you a whole fucking novella, light novel of who I am. My what would you call that? My memoir of who I am, and I'm gonna let you decide for yourself whether you vibing with it or not. And that that is how I've been able to connect really fast with any anybody, any date. And I I it's been pretty foolproof. Like I really want you to be able to do this too. Like you don't have to share your life story like I do, like I just did when you're dating, when you're trying to meet a person, but to like to an extent being able to really like reflect on yourself and recount the events of your life that shaped you into who you are, so that you know where you came from and what it made you feel and what came out of it and how you grew as a person coming out of it, having gone through it. Like that is so, it is one of the most important, like, is it important? It's just a really advanced skill in self mastery. Once you start reflecting on yourself and start having opinions of yourself, start really embracing yourself and your story and where you came from, you become so much more solid as a person. If you before you know that, you just kind of do things. Things just kind of happened and you don't really have a concept or an idea of why. And before you get to that why, before you know what that why is, it's just going to seem like life just kind of happens and it's not, there's no rhyme or reason. But what I want to impart on you is that you get to live life on your terms when you realize that you are actually able to control what happens in your life and what you create in your life when you start deciding what you're going to do and what you want to create in your life. You can create your life. It's not that random things just happen and things just fall into your lap and maybe shit happens, maybe shit doesn't happen, maybe bad shit happens, maybe good shit happens. Like, no, you could actually decide what you want and go for it and create it. You get to create the life that you want. I remember very vividly the moment I realized that. It was a huge light bulb moment. I didn't know that you create your own life. It just seems like life just happens, just do stuff. But you do create your life. You are the creator of your life. You're always creating your life with your actions, with what you do and what you think and what you believe and what your habits are. You're creating your life right now, all the time, with what you are doing. It's what you do and how you think and feel that creates your life. And where am I going with that? And I just want you to realize that you get to have the type of life that you want. And you don't get to have the type of life that you want until you really like, know what it's going to take to have it, know yourself, know who you are as a person and who you need to become to have that thing, to create that thing, to create the life that you want. Because in order to create the life that you want, you must become the person that creates that thing. You have to become that person, that identity, the person who does the things that makes that life. And until you do all this inner work, this mental, emotional, spiritual inventory of really coming clean with yourself, knowing yourself, loving yourself, forgiving yourself, healing the shit that you don't like about yourself, all the shit that you reject about yourself and hide from the world and hide from yourself, it's you're going to stay stuck. The the stuckness that everybody just kind of lives with and is perpetually there. You don't have to stay there. Well, obviously you don't have to, but it just kind of feels like you're there. But in order to move past it, to overcome that, it involves doing this work of truly embracing yourself, loving and accepting, forgiving yourself. And it's a lot of work, but it is really, really worth it. And yeah, I just kind of want to end it at that. It's almost been 2 hours and I lost daylight. But um, yeah, that's my story. I hope you enjoyed that story time, and I will see you next time. Bye.